As Hashem, the Amud in Maseches Berachos we're learning today is Nun Zayin Amud Beis 57b. We will have 3 sections in today's learning. As Hashem. First section is going to be a continuum of dreams and their interpretations. Really what we've been learning about the last 2 days. Just different ideas, we'll see. And then we'll move on to a second section that tells us lists of 3, 5, 6, and 10 items. I got it to type Gemaras, we'll see. And finally, we'll tie back into the Mishnah, where we'll discuss upon seeing avoda zara, or places avoda zara was uprooted from, and then specifically Bavel, and we'll discuss the brachos you make upon seeing these things. So that'll be back to halachas of our Mishnah, really. But before we get there, let's get started. At the top of the page, in Zayin Amud Beis, at Tan Rabbanan, the second line on the page. Tan Rabbanan. So we've been discussing until now different visions a person has in his dreams, and what the implications of that are, and we continue with that in the first section. Tan Rabbanan. The Brisa says as follows. Shloshim Melachim Haim, there are 3 kings, that if a person witnesses these kings in a dream, they have implications. Haroed David Bachalom, if somebody sees David HaMelech in a dream.
How do you know he's David?
If you see him, you'll know it's him, Kanira. That's the Vard. I guess you have to say. It's such a...
It's not like there's pictures of him.
And Achanami, if you see him, you'll know it's him. It has to be. Otherwise, how do you know? So if he sees David HaMelech in a dream, Yitzchak L'chasidus, he can anticipate piety. Is it piety or piety? Piety. Because David HaMelech was a chassid. Shlomo, if you see Shlomo HaMelech in a dream, Yitzchak L'chachma. So we know Shlomo was chacham mikol adam. So we can anticipate gaining chachma. Achav was a wicked king. So if he sees Achav, Yidag min aporonos, chas v'sholem, he should be worried about tragedies befalling him because he ended up in a very negative way. Similarly, Gimel Nevi'im Haim, there are 3 books of Nevi'im. Haroes Sefer Malachim, if somebody sees the Sefer Malachim, you see the book, Sefer Malachim, Yitzap L'Gdula, so like kings, you should anticipate greatness. Yecheskel, now Yecheskel is a very complicated book full of different chachmas, so therefore if you see the book of Yecheskel, Yitzap L'Chachma, you can anticipate great wisdom. Now the Gra takes this out, because otherwise it's not a list of 3, but let's read it in. Yeshaya, if he sees the book of Yeshaya, so Yeshaya is about comfort, that Yeshaya offers the people. So Yitzap L'Nechama, he should anticipate comfort. Yirmiyah, but this is not such a good one. If he sees Yirmiyah talks about all the tragedies, Nechom Bayis. So Yedag Min HaParanus, he should be worried about punishments and tragedies. Okay, similarly, Shlosha Ksuvim Gedolim Him, there are 3 of the larger books of Ksuvim. If he sees these, Haroah Sefer Tehillim, if he sees Tehillim, so Tehillim is one of the larger books in Ksuvim. It was written by David HaMelech, Yitzap L'Chasidus. So like its writer, he should anticipate Chasidus. Mishlei, if he sees the book of Mishlei written by Shlomo HaMelech, Yitzap L'Chachma, anticipate Chachma. Eov, but if he sees the book of Eov, we know Eov, what's the story? Is he had all kinds of suffering. So Yitzap, Yidag Min HaParanos, he has to be worried about suffering, punishments. Shlosha Ksuvim Ketanim Haim, and now similarly, if he sees the 3 smaller books in Ksuvim, Haroah Shir Hashirim, meaning if he sees Shir Hashirim, written by Shlomo, right? Shlomo writes Shir Hashirim, right? Right? Shir Hashirim. B'chal, if you see Shir Hashirim in a dream, Yitzap L'Chasidus. Again, L'Chasidus, interesting, Chasidus. Koheles, if he sees Koheles, also written by Shlomo HaMelech, I believe. Right? Koheles also. Yitzap L'Chachma, so you should anticipate Chachma. So that's interesting. I don't know what the chiluk in that is. Rashi says Shir Hashirim is all Yiras Shamayim and love of the Jewish people towards Hashem. So that's why you should anticipate Chasidus, I guess. That's a higher level. As opposed to Koheles, which is all Divrei Chachma. Kinos, if he sees Kinos, meaning the lamentations of Yirmiyah Novi, so Yidag Min HaParanos, he should be worried because that talks about the woe and sadness over the destruction. So that's something not to be so excited about. Haroah Megillas Esther, but if somebody sees Megillas Esther, it's coming up. This is Friday, is Rosh Chodesh Adar Rishon. Nes Nasaleh, so it means he's going to anticipate miracles that will be done for him, like in the times of Purim. Shloisha Chachamim Haim. Now, it's also similarly, this is also the same, you're going to have the same question here. If a person sees one of these 3 Chachamim in a dream, so it has a certain portent. Haroeh Rebbe B'chalim, if you see Rabbi Yehuda Anasi in a dream, how do you know it's him? You know, I guess. Yitzap L'Chachma, so you can anticipate Chachma. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who we know is not just a Chacham, but he was also very wealthy. He was the one that was elected in place of Rabbi Gamliel when he's demoted earlier in the Masechta from the Nesias. So he's very wealthy. So Yitzap L'Ashiros, he can anticipate becoming wealthy. Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha was unfortunately one of the Asara Harugi Malchus, the 10 people killed in a terrible way. So yedag min ha'paranus. If he sees him in a dream, he should be worried about punishments. Now there are 3 who are not chachamim, but they're called talmidei chachamim, students of the chachamim, because these 3 never got smicha. So if you see one of these 3, it also has an implication. Haroa ben Azai, if somebody sees ben Azai in a dream, b'chalom yitzap lechasidus. So ben Azai would represent chasidus, that you're going to anticipate that. Ben Zoma was a tremendous chacham, yitzap lechachma. So he should anticipate chachma. Acher, but if he sees Acher, we know Acher was the Tana who used to be called Elisha ben Avuya, but he went off the derech for whatever the reason is. He was a Rebbe of Rameir. We know the story. So Yedag min ha'paranus, he's worried about the punishments because his story didn't end too well. Kol minei chayas yafes lechalim. Then moving on in the same section though, all types of wild animals are good to see in a dream. Chutz min apil, besides seeing an elephant, va'kof, a monkey, va'kapod. A kapod, Rashi says, is called a martina. A martin. A martin, I believe, is a type of weasel. I believe that's the Indian. So the point is, these are not a good siman, apparently. Rashi says the reason is because they're mishunin b'marehen. These are strange-looking creatures. I guess the elephant, the monkey, and these weasels have a unique look that's different than other animals, and perhaps that has a negative implication. I frek the Gemara of Homer Mar Hore Pil B'chalam Pela Nasaloi. We learned this earlier. Above my base. So exactly. We said if you see an elephant in a dream, miracles are going to happen. So pil is pella. So the Gemara says, like Kashya, had the misarig, had the misarig. It depends if it has a saddle or not. If it has a saddle, it's a good sign. Not a saddle, it's a bad sign. Kol minei mateches yafen lechalim. All types of metal instruments are good to see in a dream. Chutz mimar, besides if you see a hoe. A hoe is a type of thing to dig in the ground. It's a type of instrument. Pesel. Art Scroll translates pesel as a matak. It's some sort of a flat-bladed, right-angled instrument. It's also used for digging. Vikardum and an axe. These have a negative implication because they cause damage. So it could cause damage, chas v'shalom. V'hani mili dechazanu b'katayu, but that's only if you see the metal blade attached to the handle. But if it's not, so then it's not a negative symbolism because it's not something that can be used in that way for destruction or for damage. Kol minei peros yafin lechalim. Any fruits are good to see in a dream. Chutz mipagi timara, unripe, besides for unripe dates. Kol minei Berachos yafin lechalim. All types of vegetables are good to see in a dream. Chutz meirashe liftais, besides for the heads of turnip. Asks the Gemara, v'ha'amarav la'i atri adachazoi rashe liftais. But Rav said, I only became wealthy when I started to see the heads of turnips in my dreams. So the Gemara answers, Ki chaza b'kinayu chaza. Rav saw it attached to its stem still. That's a positive thing. But detached, it's negative. Kol minei tziv'aynin yafen lechalim. All colors are good to see in a dream. Chutz minat techeles, besides for techeles. Now usually, we translate techeles as a bluish color. Rashi says over here, it's like a bluish-greenish that is a sickly color. So it has a sickly color that a person's face would be when he's sick, and therefore it's not a good sign in a dream. The tzitzis we have tchelas, that's true. That's not a bad thing though. That's not a negative thing though.
When you cross the bay and you look at the color of the water,
it's like tchelas.
It's like the
I hear.
That's the closest thing.
I hear. The bay.
Beautiful green. Do we green color?
Do we dream? The thing is about all this whole thing I told you yesterday, I don't remember dreams, Bichlal. Do you remember dreams?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. I don't remember them. I remember I had a dream.
And then I forget them.
I don't remember my dreams really.
But I thought that we can't dream in colors. I thought that was one of the...
Oh yeah? Taka?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I never thought it. Think about it tonight. See what happens tonight.
What I'm saying is I don't remember
dream in color. But, it's like the dreams are still in the 40s. You know, it's a black and white.
If you eat right before you go to sleep, you are more prone.
If you eat, oh wow,
you're much more.
So I should try it then. Yeah. I mean, I do that sometimes.
It's just not good for
it's not good for digestion. All types of birds are good for dreams. If you see them, chutz min karya v'kafufa. Rashi learns these are types of owls. V'korparoi. Now, korparoi, Rashi seems to learn is something that's a mole. A mole is not a bird. So therefore, some of the Mefarshim here say, Rashi must have had a different girsa. All types of creatures are good besides for these three, which would not be a good sign in a dream. Now we're moving on. New section, Chevra. We're out of dreams for a minute here. So the Gemara here moves on to a new section that is based on the acronym Haguf, Me'ein Meshivin umarchivin simin. So we're going to have here lists of 3, 5, 6, and 10. What is it?
According to Dr. Google, we do dream in colors.
We do dream in colors, Dr.
I
Google.
heard something to the effect that we don't.
Let's all, tonight we have homework.
No. According to Google, it says, yeah, some people do. Yeah.
Let's do homework tonight. Everybody's going to try to remember if their dream was in color or black and white. Let's see.
If you happen to have a dream.
And you remember it. Gimel zakta gemara, Gimel nechnasim leguf ve'ena guf nehenim. This is fascinating. 3 things enter the body, ve'ena guf nehenim mehen, but the body does not benefit from it. What are these 3 things? Good gedanios. Good gedanios is cherries. I thought the body, I benefit from cherries, but maybe it's a specific type of cherries. There's no benefit. I don't know. Vikafnios and bad dates. So that I could understand. Dates, yeah. Rashi says it's a type of bad dates.
Bad dates or spoiled?
Yeah, Rashi says it's a type of, Rashi says,
dates don't spoil.
Min tamarim roim. It's a type of negative or bad dates. Upagi tamara and unripe dates. Okay, so I could understand those, the last 2, cherries. I don't know exactly what the pshat and that is. Okay. Shloisha. Now there are 3 things that are the opposite.
I think I heard this year recently that I'm trying to remember one of the Gedolim in Israel said that we don't really know a lot of times. You know what I'm saying?
What these Gemaras are talking about.
No, we don't.
Oh, what
we
these
think
items are. I hear.
What we don't know is the fruits they're referring to are exactly or similar to the ones we have.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
I
saying.
hear
I've heard that.
Fair enough. Shloisha continues the Gemara. Now the contrast to that. There are 3 things that don't enter the body, but the body benefits from them. Eluhain, rechitzas, vesicha, v'tashmish. Washing yourself, anointing yourself, and intimacy, relation. So these are things that don't enter the body, but they benefit the body. Interesting.
Well, you have pleasure from it.
Right, so that's the idea. Shloisha me'ein oilam haba. Now there are 3 things that are considered a taste of the next world. Eluhain, Shabbos, Gewalt, Shemesh, the sun, v'tashmish. Now the Gemara analyzes what tashmish are we talking about here. Tashmish demai. So the simple assumption would be ilema tashmish amita, if it means cohabitation, relations. So the problem is hamikhash kachish. Problem is you can't say that's me'ein olam haba, because me'ein olam haba is a thing that empower a person or give him more strength. Tashmish, the Gemara is saying, weakens a person, relations. So that can't be it. Ela tashmish nekavim, it means defecating. That's what it means. When a person relieves themselves, it makes them feel better and it gives them more strength. Me'ein olam haba means something that gives you more koyach, strength, empowerment.
It depends the reason of the tashmish. If it is for conception, it is positive. If it's for
you're talking about the product. Yeah, I hear.
But it still weakens.
Yeah, weakens. Shloisha meshivin daita shaladam. This is amazing. There are 3 things that calm a person's mind. Eluhain, koil, sound. It could be nice music, good voice. Umara, or certain sights. You go see nature, beautiful. Vereach, and good smells. Shloisha marchivin daita shaladam. There are 3 things that expand a person's mind. Eluhain, these are them. Dira noya, a good home. The isha noya, a good wife, a good woman. The kalim noim, and good vessels, good items. Let's move on. Chamisha v'shisha v'asara simin. 5, 6, and 10. That's going to be the next list that we have. Chamisha echad mishishim. There are 5 things that are under the list of 5 things that are 1/60th of another item. So what are they? Eluhain, Eish, Devash, v'Shabbos, v'Shena v'Chalaim. Fire, honey, Shabbos, sleep, and dreams. Let's see. Let's go through them. Eish. What is Eish? Echad mishishim legehenim. Fire we have is 1/60th of Gehenim. Devash, honey, echad mishishim leman. It's 1/60th of the man. The Torah describes man as like fried dough and honey. So there's a shtickle, 60th, honey is a 60th of man. Shabbos is echad mishishim le'olam haba. We always say it's me'ein olam haba. 1/60th of the next world. Shena, sleep. Echad mishishim lemisa is 1/60th of death. Very famous memra. Chaloim echad mishishim lenevu. And a dream is 1/60th of a prophecy. Shisha devarim simin yafe lechoyle. Now there are 6 things that are a good sign for a sick person. Eluhain, these are them. What's that?
There's other things that are 60 that it doesn't mention.
Like, what else?
Like a bengila takes 1/60th of the sickness.
I hear. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, there's other things.
Maybe this member said these. I hear. So there's other things. 6 things are a good sign for a sick person. Means that he'll recover and feel better. Elohim, these are them. Itush is sneezing. Zeya is sweating. Shilshul. Shilshul is diarrhea, meaning loose bowels. Keri, interesting, a seminal emission. These are good signs for him. V'shein, sleep, v'chaloim, and a dream. Itush, how do we know these are good signs? So we go through each of them as a pasuk. Sneezing, dichsiv, like it says, atishaisev tahel or. Sneezing is like a spark of light. It makes you healthy. There's a certain element that's positively associated. Zeya, sweating, go to a shvitz. Dichsiv, like it says, this is a little bit taken out of context, but the way we're explaining it is, through sweating, you'll be able to eat bread. You'll have parnasa. It's a good thing to happen for someone to get better. Shilshul diarrhea, like it says, when the bowels open up quickly and he won't end up dying in destruction. But again, it's some sort of a positive connotation. Keri, seminal emission. Like the pasuk says, there's a very interesting drasha here. Yira zara, he'll see seed. Yarech yom, he'll have a long life. Now that's not really the simple pshat in the pasuk, but taken out of context, it means seminal emission. It promotes life. Shina, or it's a good sign for the sick person. Shina, sleep. How do we know it's a good sign for the sick person? Like it says, Yashanti az yanuachli. I slept and it was calm for me. Chaloim, and a dream, like it says, we quoted this earlier, you caused me to dream and you gave me life. So for a sick person, it's a good sign. There are 6 things that if it happens to a sick person, it's a permanent refuah. Means they're going to be a long-lasting refuah. Elohim, these are them. Kruv is cabbage. The tradin is beets. The season is dried pennyroyal. I think it's some kind of an herb. The keva is the stomach of an animal, eating the stomach of an animal. The heres, the womb of an animal, eating the womb of an animal. Okay. The aseres hakavid, and the diaphragm. V'yesh oimer, and some say af dagim ketanim. Small fish also provide a long-lasting refuah for a sick person. And not only that, person who eats small fish, eat a lot of herring, or it's anchovies, or what are those things called?
Sardines.
Yeah. Sardines, thank you. They give total health and good things for the person's body. Moving on to 10 now. 10 things bring back a person's sickness, and it brings it even worse. Elohim, these are them. Basar short, eating ox of meat of an ox. Basar shamein, fatty meat. Basar tzli, roasted meat. Basar tzipirim, fowl. Beyatzluya, roasted eggs. Taglachas, haircuts. Okay. V'shechlayim, cress. Cress is a type of vegetable. V'achalav, milk. V'agvina, and cheese. V'amerchatz, bathing. V'yesh oimrim afe goizim, some say also eating nuts. V'yesh oimrim af kishuim, and some say also eating cucumbers.
We said before that bathing was good.
Bathing is good. Yeah, I guess it depends how and when and right after sickness, before. Probably there's a lot of details here. Go to the mikveh, exactly. Why are these foods called kishuim? They're bad for the body like swords. Gemara in Tainus says a similar thing about eating dates, that they're bad for the body like swords. Very bad. Any Frek the Gemara, is that true? The cucumbers are great. They're full of water. The pasuk says, it's Nez when Rivka went to see in the Beis Shem Be'aver, she wanted to know what's the deal with the babies in her stomach, and says, Shnei goyim bevitnich. 2 nations are inside of you. Al tikri goyim, don't read nations. Ela geyim. Geyim means proud ones or glorified ones. And that's what it was referring to. V'amar Rav Yehuda amar Rav, Elo Antoninos v'Rebbe. This refers to Antoninos. The Mefarshim say it's perhaps different Roman emperors. Marcus Aurelius, maybe some say, different Roman emperors, the Rebbe, and they were friends. So the Roman emperor and Rebbe were friends, and that's what it was referring to in this nevuah. Shalei pasak mishulchanam, that they never had cease from their table. Like snoy, not radishes, like chazeres or lettuce, like kishuim or cucumbers. Not in the summer or the winter. But what's the point? They were so wealthy, they had these delicacies. So Frek the Gemara, you see clearly, cucumbers are a good thing, they're not a negative thing. So like Kasha, the large cucumbers are negative. Small cucumbers are positive.
Kirby's.
I don't know, you know the names. Good.
Kirby's are the little ones.
All right, let's finish up this last point over here about dreams, and we'll go on to the third section. Taner Rabbanan. Get back to dreams for a minute. If a person has a dream, meis bebayis, that there's a dead person in his house, that's the dream that he has. Sholim bebayis, that's a good sign. It means there's peace in his house. Wow. That's a good interpretation.
Going to fight.
You would think the opposite.
You would think the opposite. Now, if a person sees the mace eating and drinking in his house, Simin yafa l'bayis. It's a good sign for the house. It sounds counterintuitive, right? Not al kela min abayis. If the dead person took vessels from his house, so simin ra l'bayis. That's a bad sign. Targumar of Papa be misana v'sandola. So Rav Papa explained that's where the mace takes shoes and sandals. Called the shakil simin yafa l'bayis. Anything the mace takes would be a good sign from the house, but not al kela min abayis. Sorry, did I skip 1 second? Called the shakil shichva ma'ali. Sorry, barmi misana v'sandala. Anything he takes would be a good thing. Besides, if the mace in his dream took sandals or shoes, and called the yoav shichva ma'ali. Anything the mace put in the house would be a good thing. Barmi afra v'chardala. Besides, if it put dirt or mustard. So don't eat mustard with your hot dog. It's a bad sign. All right, Rashi says afara is a bad sign if it put dirt because it's a simin sharamaz lahem kivura, that there's a reference. There's going to be some kivura in this house. It's not such a good thing. Let's move on to the third section now. Back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah had discussed brachas you make upon seeing places of avoda zara was uprooted. So we're going to go now on a discussion about that. So let's see. Makam shenekri menu avodas gelulim. Tan Rabbanan, Zok the Brisa. Haroya Markulis. If somebody sees Markulis was a particular avoda zara. Taisvis learns the reason it says this is because the Tana of this Brisa happened to be in a place they worship Markulis, but it would be the same with l'chayra other avoda zaras that you see. However, Taisvis does say today we don't have this minog because it was only when you saw it once every 30 days. But we see avoda zara all the time. Very interesting. Taisvis says so we wouldn't make this bracha. But anyways, if you see this avoda zara Markulis, Aimer, the bracha you say is Baruch shenasan erech apayim la'ovrei ritzayne. Blessed is Hashem that He gave erech apayim His restraint. Patience for those that transgress His will. Even though there's Jews that are transgressing the Ritzayin Hashem, avoda zara, nonetheless, He doesn't lash out against them. He gives them time to do tshuva. He sees a place that avoda zara was destroyed, uprooted from. So he says a different bracha. Baruch she'akar akum me'artzenu. This is if it's in Eretz Yisrael. Blessed is Hashem that He uprooted avoda zara from our lands, and He could continue and say, "Kishem shenekra mimakom zeh," just as it's uprooted from this place. Came to akar mikol mekaymes Yisrael from all. It should be uprooted from all Jewish places. And the ones who worship them should return to serve you. That's what you should say. However, the Gemara says that's only in Eretz Yisrael. You shouldn't say you don't need to say that end that the worshippers should worship you because in Chutz La'aretz most of them are Goyim. So in Eretz Yisrael, chas v'shalom, but there's Jews that do avoda zara, so you say v'hashiv levav deim la'avdecha. But in Chutz La'aretz they're Goyim, so you don't say that. Shifman ben Elazar Omer, he argues.
Also have that.
Avoda zara? Yeah, but la'avdecha is not necessarily la'avdecha. So this Gemara, Shifman ben Elazar, we have to move a little bit. We have to finish up. Shifman ben Elazar, can you also have to say this in Chutz La'aretz? Because the Goyim in the future, literally it means will convert. The Pashtus, what it means though is they'll understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not necessarily become Jewish, except Shivas take care of it seriously. Like the pasuk says, they'll serve Hashem. Then in the future, it says in Sefanya, I will change the nations into one clear language, means they're going to all come serve Hashem. Dorash Rav Hamnuna continues. Now let's talk about Bavel. Bavel, Nebuchadnezzar, they destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. So the Gemara tells us here certain brachas we say in association with Bavel. And then Bavel was ultimately destroyed. But the Gemara says, Araya Bavel Arasha, if you see the wicked Bavel, because they destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, Tzarech Levari Chamesh brachas. There's 5 brachas associated with depending what you see. Let's see. Ra Bavel. So if you just see stam, you see Bavel in general. So Aimer, you should say Baruch shehechrif Bavel Arasha. Blessed is Hashem that He destroyed the wicked Babylonia. Ra Beis Shel Nebuchadnezzar. If you see the house, the palace of Nebuchadnezzar, so Aimer, you say Baruch shehechrif Beis Shel Nebuchadnezzar Rasha. Blessed Hashem, He destroyed the house of Nebuchadnezzar Rasha.
Are these things still standing?
I guess it means after it was destroyed. That's the point. I don't know if we see these things today anymore. In times of the Gemara, maybe they did. If he sees the den of the lions that Daniel was thrown in, or the furnace that Hanan, Mishael, and Azariah were thrown and saved from. So you say, Baruch blessed Hashem who did miracles for our ancestors here. Ra Markulis, now back to what we said before, if he sees this avoda zara, blessed Hashem, He had restraint with those who transgress His will. Ra Makom Shenait Leimenu Afar. Very interesting Rashi here. If you see a place that they took from it dirt, Rashi says, two pshatim, but the first pshat Rashi says is, Makom Yesh beBavel she'ein behemis yaitze misham. There's a place in Bavel that animals cannot leave unless they put dirt from that place on the animals. It was part of the curse and destruction of Bavel, is an animal cannot leave that location unless they take dirt from that place on the animal. So it's a sign of destruction. So if you see this place where the dirt is taken from, you say, Baruch Aimer va'oseh geizer Mekayim. Blessed Hashem, who says and performs and decrees and fulfills. So he destroyed Bavel like he had anticipated. Gemara tells us a similar story. Rava ki havachazi chamri deshakli afra. When Rava would see a donkey from this place with dirt on it, tarif lehu yadal gabayo, he would slap it on its back, and he would say, Rahutu tzadiki leme'evad ra'avasa dimaraychu. Run, righteous ones, I guess referring to the donkeys, to fulfill the will of your maker, of your owner, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mar Beid Ravina ki avamati leBavel. Mar Beid Ravina would get to Bavel, have a shakil afra besudre, would take some of the dirt or the dust in his handkerchief, v'shadi lebron, throw it outside. L'kayim hashenemar, to symbolically fulfill the pasuk in Yeshaya, it talks about the destruction of Bavel, as it says, "V'ta'atesiya b'ma'atate hashmeid." I will sweep it with a broom of destruction. So it's a symbolism. It's throughout the dirt is to show Bavel was taka destroyed like HaKadosh Baruch Hu said he would. Amar Rav Ashi ano hadr of Hamnuna l'shmili. I never heard of Hamnuna's vart about saying 5 brachas associated with Bavel. Ela midatoi barachinu lekulu. But I concluded on my own to make these brachas because those are logical things. Let's finish up. Now, Amar Reb Yirmiyah ben Elazar, Niskal Bavel, a fascinating idea. When Bavel was cursed and destroyed, Niskal Shcheneha, its neighbors were also cursed and destroyed. But Niskal Shomron, when the Jews who lived in the northern part of Eretz Yisrael, called the Shomron, were exiled by Melech Ashur, Nisborchu Shcheneha, its neighbors ended up receiving blessing. Niskal Bavel, Niskal Shcheneha, when Bavel was cursed and destroyed, its neighbors were also dechsiv, like it says, V'samtia lemoirash, I will place it as a swamp. Bavel, it's going to be like a desolate swamp. Kapod, for kapod, these are for these martens or these like wild animals. Fa'agme mayim, and agme mayim is like a swampy area. These will be completely destroyed. And similarly, the surrounding areas. Niskal Shomron, however, when Shomron, the northern area of Eretz Yisrael, was destroyed because the Jews were kicked out. So the neighbors actually received bracha. Like it says, "V'samti Shomron le'iyah sodeh." I will make Shomron as a heap in the field, limata'e kerem v'goimer, as a fertile place for grapes, for vines, etc. So it's a very interesting idea. Rashi points out what's the pshat. So Rashi says, when Bavel was destroyed, so if Bavel was destroyed, woe to it and woe to its enemy, woe to its neighbors. So therefore, its neighbors were also destroyed. But what's the pshat that when Shomron the Jews were kicked out, the neighbors received bracha? What do you make of that, Chevra?
Because the Yidden joined them.
Because the Yidden joined them. That's very interesting. I didn't think about that. Dr. Beffler is suggesting maybe because the Jews went to the neighbors, Meila bracha went along with them. Nice ha'ara. That's not the implication of the Gemara, though. Because the Gemara is mashma that it's because of the destruction, the curse there, bracha hit its neighbors. So what's the pshat? What's the kesher here?
I guess they're not being compared to somebody higher.
What does that mean?
Meaning that, Klal Yisrael lives on a much higher level. So once you don't have a good example, okay, you can be blamed. They don't have somebody to look up to. In other words, they're not influenced anymore.
Well, I thought it was a different
idea. I don't know what you're saying exactly. What are you saying?
I just think that if Klal Yisrael is there, they have somebody to look up to. So
who? Their neighbors?
The goyim, right?
Okay.
And they're compared.
Or the goyim have someone to look up to.
And they're compared to that, right? You could also be more moral, be more less wild. Once Klal Yisrael is not there, then to them it's a bracha. I don't think it's a bracha bechlal, but comparatively to them it's a bracha.
So I'll tell you what I was speaking to a guy, his name is Shmuel Silber. I don't know if you know him, a guy who lives around here, big Talmud Chacham. So he told me a vart like this. If I want to, he'll forgive me if I misquote him, but he said a vart like this. He said, maybe I'm being moisef a little bit, but he said like this, is that when Bavel was destroyed, Be'etzem HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to do away with it. It wasn't for their benefit that he destroyed them. They were Rishayim. They did bad to the Jews. Hashem destroyed them. So there's an oynesh, and the oynesh spreads to the surrounding areas. But when HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishes the Jews and kicks them out of Eretz Yisrael, be'etzem, however we understand that, it's not for our bad. It's be'etzem somehow for our good. Be'etzem, it's a bracha. even though it's a difficult thing to swallow, be'etzem it's a bracha, and the bracha naturally spreads. Very interesting var. Even the destruction of the Jewish people is be'etzem. So in order to show that the bad thing that happened to us is be'etzem bracha, it showed that it also spreads, which is a difficult concept to understand, but a very interesting ha'ara. A little bit of a chiddush to say such a var, but I don't know, it's an interesting thought. Think about it.
It's a stretch to say it stretches.
Yeah. It's not bad. I'll take up tomorrow with Nun Chesim.
It's